Hello guys, welcome to this Hex tutorial. In this video I'll show you how to create a Hex library, which is useful if you want to reuse code between multiple projects. So right now I have this main file and this person file in this simple project, and if we run it, it just prints out Sally's age and how many friends Sally has, and nothing too complicated. But let's say we wanted to reuse this person class in another project. What we can do is put it inside of a library so that we can just add it to our compiler when we're compiling. So what you want to do to create a library is create a new folder. So I have this libs folder where I have mine, and my library is going to be called people. And inside of this folder you want to have a couple of files, and I'm going to talk through these, but first I'm just going to open this folder inside of Visual Studio Code. So one of the first and most important things is this Haxelib JSON file, and what this does is it holds a bunch of information about your library. The first thing is the name of your library, which can be anything. In this case I'm calling mine people, and the license you want your library to be under, then the version number, and there are some guidelines about how you should version your libraries. So I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I'll leave this link in the description so that you can read through it. Then you have your description, which is just a short description of your library, a release note, a short description of the last release, a list of contributors, then a dependencies object, which is just a list of libraries you want Haxelib to automatically install whenever someone installs your library. So right now I'm not using any other libraries in my person class, but let's say I was using heaps. What I could do is I could write heaps, and then I could either leave this blank to install the newest version, or I could insert a version here, and then it would look for that version specifically, which is useful if you're worried that the code might change and it might become incompatible. Then you have a list of tags, which is just used to help people find your library online when you upload it. So there's a couple more that you can have. You can have a URL, which is just a link to your website or to your GitHub repository or anywhere else where you have information about your library. Then you can also have a main path, which is the class that gets run if you run the library using Haxelib. And then the final one is class path, which is just where you find your code. You can just leave this empty if it's just the same folder. So the other files you have in here are a license file, a changelog file, and a readme file. Now if we go onto an example page, as you can see, the readme file shows up on the About tab, the changelog file shows up here, and the license shows up here. And release notes just again shows the string you put here. So those are the basic files you want inside any library. Now to actually add our code inside here, I'm just going to add a folder called person, and I'm going to drag this file inside of here. Now I'm just going to declare this as part of a package called person, and what we need to do now is declare this as a development library. The way we do this is we go into the directory where the folder's in, and then on the command line we write haxlib dev people, and then the path to the folder. In this case it's just people because it's a relative path. So now as you can see, the development directory has been set, and what this means is that we can edit our library and it will always use this version while we're editing it. So now to use this library inside of our project, we go up here and we write import person.person, and in our build file we just add lib people, and now as you can see the errors go away, and if we run it, as you can see it works. So now we could edit this class, and our project will always use the most recent version of this. But once we have a release for our library, what we can do is go into the directory, select all of the items, and put them inside of a zip file. If we open up the command line again, and we write Haxelib install person.zip, and we click enter, as you can see it installs this zip file as a library locally. So that's how you make a final release version. Now another thing you can do once you have this zip file is you can write Haxelib submit person.zip, and it will submit it to your Haxelib profile. Now I'm not going to go through this because it's a bit more complicated, but I'll leave a link to this page which details the steps. So if you're interested in that, you can go here. So anyway, I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please leave a like, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments.